Warning, the following podcast is a shit show, and the individuals you are about to meet are idiots. Their opinions, anecdotes, and advice contain zero nutritional value. This is the critical human condition and all of its strangeness. This is life, according to an idiot.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of According to an Idiot. I am your co-host, Mo Christine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Go ahead, do that again.
Mo Christine.
Oh.
Yeah, you like that.
And I'm your co-host, Jeremy Howell. Beautiful.
Today we're gonna have I don't know if you would call it a fun episode, but this was voted by our patrons on Patreon. And we're going to be talking about Civil War ghost stories. Ooh. And some of the, more real life horror stories.
Yes.
About being in the Civil War. Before we jump into that, because we usually do a little bit of babble. Talking about our lives. And I have something pressing that's been on my mind, which is that I'm moving. I bought my first house. Yay.
Congratulations.
But what comes with that is the nightmare of Facebook Marketplace, because I am trying to get rid of a ton of stuff, full purge of my things. Every time I move, I realize what a hoarder I am.
Yeah.
And all the fucking useless junk that I accumulate.
Yep.
So I'm getting rid of a bunch of stuff and I'm listing it for free on Facebook Marketplace, which is something I would never recommend to anybody who wants to live a sane life. It is the most annoying thing
Why is that?
I've ever done, because you get bombarded, absolutely fucking bombarded with messages from people, but it's never any messages that are helpful or a semblance of a conversation. It's always, is this available?
Well, because that's the
How
automatic.
is this available?
There's an option when you're wanting to buy something off Facebook Marketplace. You press a button, it just sends the message: "Is this still available?" or "Is this available?"
And it's like, whatever. But in my post, I say it's on the side of the road. Here is the location. Once it is picked up, this post will be removed.
Oh, you do, or you're not even selling it.
No.
Oh wow! There's Facebook groups that
I did that too.
Oh really? Where it's
did that
corner
too.
pickup or curb pickup or whatever.
Yeah, and I messaged a dozen people at least.
Yeah.
All of them no shows. All of
weird?
them. So I finally got fed
Even
up
when it's
enough.
free, people do that.
I'm got fed up enough that I put it on Facebook Marketplace for free, and I still get bombarded with messages. I had one guy message me, and he was like, $10. I'll pick it up today. And I was
for
like,
a free thing?
Yeah, I was like, okay, it's on the side of the road. Just come get it. He didn't. He never showed up. All these people are always so desperate. They're always so desperate to have the thing. They're like, please, I want it. Please, I'm so interested. And then where are you? You're lost in the ether.
It has to be like a today pickup, or I'm not going to
Exactly.
do it now, whatever. And I got so many, a lot of older people being like, my nephew would love this. Or oh, my son's moving out. He needs this. And then it's like, yeah, of course. Just show up whenever. And how about next Thursday? Okay. My husband can drive me next Friday. All right, fine. And then just dead. Nothing. And then
Nothing.
I never sold that stuff.
Exactly. You get bombarded with all these messages. You have to reply to people. Yep. And then nothing. You still have the junk. You still have junk. For me, I was trying to get rid of a few things, but the big one was a twin mattress and a collapsible bed frame, because whenever friends would come over, they needed a place to crash before we got our big couch, we would just pull that out, and it's comfier than a blow up air mattress. We don't need that anymore. So I'm getting all of these people who are like, please, my son, my children need this. My children need a bed.
Yeah.
Please, can I have it? And I'm like, it's literally outside. Just come and get it. And they're like, okay. And then nothing.
You know what it is sometimes on like social media or like, you know, certain sites like Reddit or anything really where there's like memberships or like you can you can have an account. There are bots. And I feel like in life there are actual bots where it's like people that are just like, they have this compulsion to like, I will participate and say, I want this. I will, you know, whatever. I will make my voice heard. Yeah. And I'm gone. And it's like, where do you go?
They want to know
Where'd you
that they
come from?
could have had it.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy message me, hey, is this still available? And it was like right after I changed it to free. So I was messaging people back saying yes and like with my address. And he was like, okay, thanks. I forgot. What is the item? And I was like, it's a mattress and bed frame. And he was like, oh, queen size ? Good quality.
It's crazy. This guy appears to need a bed and didn't know what he asked you for.
And he's like, is it on the curb or by your house? And I was like, I'm not.
The curb is by my house.
Read the fucking post. And read the fucking post. I can't. I cannot. I'm going to lose it.
It's insane.
It's still out there.
What's the item? It's a bed. If you need a bed, I think you'd remember what it was.
My children.
Maybe he had an empty house. And so he's like, it could be the fridge. It could be the dryer. It could be the couch.
Maybe. But maybe like take the 2 seconds because it lists the object, the top of the chat. It does that so you can go, what was I messaging about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The bed I need for my children.
I saw this one screenshot. Someone had screenshot like their mom's Facebook Messenger or something. It was this old woman. And she posted asking, she actually asked herself, like, how much for the chair? And then she replies herself, sorry, no chair. Please stop messaging me. It was just her talking to herself on her own post. It's like, oh, parents.
I love that.
Aging parents.
I listed, this is the only thing I've sold recently. It was like a queen bed frame. Mm-hmm. And I bought it for like, I don't know, $150 like 5 years ago. I just wanted it gone. So I listed it for like $50. And I got so many, because Facebook like has the thing where you can just send an offer. Yeah. And people would send offers for like $10. And so I would decline. Mm-hmm. And I kept getting people who would reply with, what's your lowest? And I would just reply with $50.
The price I listed.
Get away from me. Yeah. Even if no one else was interested, I still wouldn't sell it to you. I would just take it to the dump. Weirdos.
When Kat was moving out of her apartment, she was trying to sell her couch, it was like a sectional she got from Big Lots. It was serviceable, but nothing big. She was listing it for like $25, maybe $50, something like that. And somebody messaged her, and they're like, "Hey, like they were in like they were starting to haggle." And he's like, "How about, you know, they went down to 40, whatever." And he went down to like, "Hey, can I get it for like 30 or something like that?" Mm-hmm. And Kat was like, "Sorry, no, like it has to be this, and you have to come pick it up yourself." And the guy was like, fine, didn't even want this ugly ass couch anyways. It's like, if you're taking everything personally, even this couch, like what the hell?
And they probably wouldn't have even shown up anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is like if you ask someone like, hey, you have to do the labor of like getting it out of my house or whatever. I had this crazy thing happen. The couch that we currently have, we got off Facebook Marketplace from this lady. And when we went to go pick it up, we got like a truck from U-Haul or Home Depot or something. Went to her house. She messaged me, says, hey, yeah, so just send me the money in Venmo and then go into my house and get the couch. We're not home right now. I left the door unlocked. My husband's a cop. And I'm like, either you're lying, your husband's not a cop, but you know that what you're doing is insane by just having me enter your house and removing a large piece of furniture when you're not home. And like,
excuse me?
Like the confidence that just to have, like the trust you had in this person that like, you don't know who I am. I could be a fake account. I could be some crazy person.
Yeah, and you are.
And I am.
You
and
are
I stayed in her
crazy
house
person.
for a few days. She didn't even know where I was.
Yeah.
Crawl space. But yeah, so that was crazy. And also that felt like a setup because it's like,
Right.
your neighbors are also going to see me show up. They never saw me. They know you're gone. And I go into your house. Me and my partner go into your house. And like two comical burglars, we will walk out with your couch and put it in the back of the truck and then just drive off. And your door's still unlocked. And it's
Did you do
live by
it,
a
though?
main road. What's that?
Did you do it?
Oh, yeah. It's the couch we currently have. It was weird. It was scary. Yeah. I'm just robbing a cop's house. That's what it was. It's like, I'm robbing a cop's house.
Good.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Crazy.
Steal cops' couches. It's anarchy.
Steal cop couch.
You know who didn't have couches?
I have a feeling I know. Wait, hold on. Actually, I have like a segment I wanted to do.
Okay, yeah. What is it?
Possible?
Yeah.
We can trim that a little bit and then we can add this in here.
Well, we'll keep the highlights of the Facebook rant.
Yeah. Highlight reel, please. This is just sort of interesting because we're going to be talking about Mo.
Army.
Sir. The American Civil War, American history. How about Americentric geography?
Oh, this sounds fun.
This is my segment, my new segment called Unnamed Segment.
Unnamed segment.
Unnamed segment. The segment doesn't have a name.
Unnamed segment. Wow, that was good. Justin Timberlake. Who?
Dirty Pop.
Justin Timberlake. That was 20 years ago. The U.S. is not the center of the universe. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
It's debatable.
What are your sources?
Yeah, jealous people. And while the USA draws a lot of criticism for the chaos it generates at home and abroad, it's not just big in attitude. It's just plain big.
Amen.
Amen. Amen, brother. Yee yee. Though dwarfed by Russia in terms of total landmass, the U.S. is insanely big and contains 9 distinct climates. We've got deserts, mountains, rainforests, coastlines, prairies, Florida. Anyway, let's compare the U.S. to other nations by land masses. This is some information I pulled from websites I didn't save the links to, so I'm sorry.
Retroactively, I think the perfect name for this segment is that Jeremy's aging.
Jeremy's aging.
Jeremy's aging and he finds history and geography cool.
Woo!
Man, I'm tired of singing.
All right. South Korea is marginally smaller than the state of Indiana.
Wow. Neat.
Makes you think. That's the segment should be called Makes You Think. You know? Makes you think.
Stop.
Japan is 3.84% the size of the U.S. Very small.
Very small.
Barely 4% of the size of the U.S.
Yeah, that's like
And they try to
Florida.
fight us in a war? I think not. It's crazy that they fought us in a war and we went to them. You know?
Yeah.
That's not even fair. But they bombed Pearl Harbor and they deserved that.
We bombed them back.
We
And
paid it back
worse.
in an unfair way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a monstrous thing. Anyways, Japan is slightly smaller, therefore, than the state of California. Not to mention that Japan is very mountainous, with only 33% of that land considered inhabitable, which is more impressive for Japan. We're not just talking about America here. That's crazy for Japan. They made a lot happen in a small amount of land. Mm-hmm. If Texas, which is where you live,
Yeah, that's fine.
hey, listen, man, Longhorns, where you at?
They do have fun colors. We do got the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Yeah.
It's not at all sad.
Nope. That's a celebration of the female form.
Exactly. Good Christian ideals.
If Texas were its own country, it would be the 40th largest out of 193 countries in the world. For example, you could nearly fit 2 Germanys inside of Texas.
Damn.
That's crazy. I mean, Texas is massive.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that also applies to the citizens. You could fit 2 Germans inside 1 Texan.
That's true. Oh, I've seen that video.
Well, California. Oh, can I give a statistic? Yeah.
Please,
I think
make me think.
California has like one of the largest GDPs. I think it's like more than like most of Europe.
Yes,
like combined.
It's like in the top. I want to say top 10, maybe top 5 largest GDPs in the world. It's just that state. Speaking of Texas, the Greater Houston area. Okay, we'll cut that out. The Greater Houston.
No, keep that in. Zach, keep that in. It's giving Tesla.
It's giving. I love Tesla.
I love Tesla.
I love Tesla. The Greater Houston area is as large as Israel and El Salvador.
Oh wow, I knew one of those.
And Portugal, Honduras, Iceland, Bulgaria, Austria, Ireland, Guatemala, and the Czech Republic and Taiwan could independently fit inside of Pennsylvania.
Neat.
Makes you think.
I feel like this is a good time to tell you that geography is my least favorite subject.
Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of geography. I just think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, like I mean, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like ideal activity, and 1 being I would rather die, it was like a 4.
That's not the insult you think it is.
It's like pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
It's like average, you know.
Yes. Well, it's not the story, it's the storyteller.
Luckily, our listeners, unwavering devotion to you, so.
That's right.
I'm sure they're hanging on the edge of their seat.
I don't think they fast forwarded through that part. I don't think they spammed that 15-second skip button.
They're going to hear the intro of Jeremy is old now. And they're going to be like, fuck.
Okay. Just fucking skip this. Okay, yeah. Here they're talking about the Civil War now.
More history facts.
Well,
we're gonna follow that train of history facts with more history facts, but less textbook and more spooky ooky.
Yeah. Oh, this textbook. Don't worry.
Little textbook, but the textbook,
little bit of textbook
is fun, and they don't teach you this in school, kids.
In some cases, they literally do, but not all of this.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I'm trying to hype it up.
Do you want to dive in first?
I'm going to dive into a certain, and then I'm going to hand it off to you, and then we'll go back to me for ghosts.
Perfect.
Ghosts, not goats. It sounded like I said goats there.
Okay, if you go into a detailed history of the Civil War, I will bark at you.
Let me tell you, I had to take these notes 3 separate times because I kept on going into a detailed history of the Civil War. The whole time I'm thinking, Mo is not going to listen to it. Mo is not going to sit through this. Every single time I started going, I'm like, oh man, okay, yeah. If you write down 3/5 compromise in your notebook, which I did twice, so I'm going to start with my latest notes, which are the briefest.
Yeah, as soon as that topic 1, I was like, this is a slippery slope.
I started rubbing my hands together like a fly. I was like,
y'all don't know what you just fucking did.
Yeah. I tricked you.
You don't know. Because, like, we
hook, line, sinker.
We cut out, like, the more boring parts, the lulls, whatever. Because we don't really know what's going to hit until we're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, y'all don't know the trenches that I waddle through.
The things that Mo has sat through.
Yeah.
In this time we've done this podcast. Oh my, you know what? Mo gives me their time in a sense, and I use it. Like, okay, we're here for an hour, 2 hours. You're going to pay for that 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because the way I like to look at it is that I am trying to shape a narrative out of these facts, this information I pick up online. Same with you whenever you do a segment, whenever you do your research. And so sometimes, I want to make it long on the page and then figure out as I'm recording what is not at all necessary.
Yeah.
But I still need all of it to be able to condense it and find what doesn't matter. So like there's certain segments that are like 40 minutes that I have like 30 pages of notes for, and I go, you've seen me do this. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that.
We should make like a super cut on our like YouTube or something or TikTok where it's just Jeremy like, that's not interesting.
That's not interesting.
I don't want to talk about that.
I can skip
we're skipping that.
And what a big part of it too was like back when we recorded in the same room, which has been a while, but that was so palpable when it wasn't hitting. Whereas here, I'm in my house, you're in your house. I know that you can look at your phone if I'm talking for too long because it's for the audience and it will be edited through. So if you get bored, you're comfortable, you're in your space, and like you can look at your phone if I'm going on too long. You can check out.
I don't usually. I do have a fidget toy that I use whenever like I feel myself glazing over.
Oh, nice.
I press the little bubbles.
Yeah.
And it helps me stay engaged.
Yeah. So, but when we were in the same room, it was
do that.
Unbearable because you would start fidgeting and squirming and blinking and like be like, or yawning, asking for coffee. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I would start like prodding you with my toes.
Yeah. Yep. We'd be seated at a card table in my basement, and then I'd just feel two little feet start stabbing me.
Well, all right. I have ADHD. It would usually be the middle of the fucking night. Mm-hmm. Like we both like worked, we went to school, whatever, and then we're doing this podcast, and I'm like, just want to fidget out of my mind, and you're like, so the Civil War started with the and then I'm like
it'd be something like Herodotus was a Greek philosopher, and just for some background on like why this ancient beast was relevant is because he thought he saw it in his Historia. I'd start quoting books and samples and stuff. I'm like, and then you're gone, and then sometimes I couldn't get you back.
For a while, your favorite thing was like the linguistics of a word, like the history of the word.
Ooh, I should get back into that.
You would start off with that. So like usually ling comes from and I'm like, I'm gone.
Because we would do an episode on God, what's a random topic? Like executions. And I'd be like, capital punishment. Where does that word come from? Like, well, you're in luck. It comes from kaput, which is a old Roman word meaning that, and then I would just go and go and go.
It made me like really good at like selective listening, because I would just let you talk whatever you wanted to talk about, and then as soon as like an interesting word came up, I was like, okay, now I can zone in.
And you know what? I knew that. Like, I had buzzwords that I would throw in there. You know what I mean? Like, I knew kind of like a rattle in front of a baby. Where it's like,
you're like, you want to pay attention now?
Yeah.
I'm done talking about linguistics.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, so. Well, I guess let's jump into it then. And I will truly jump into it. I'll excuse for half of the notes I just took.
I say this all with love, quality time is my love language.
Yeah, so we don't need to know how the Civil War started, okay? I want to tell you so bad how the Civil War started. But we're not going to tell you how the Civil War started, okay, Jeremy? Where it, in a condensed form, and again, I'm just to finish this rant with you, is where that connects directly to today, I think, and where maybe I was trying to get, honestly, is that the people who fought in the Civil War and the Confederacy were people who were largely poor, random people who weren't slave owners, and they were convinced by oligarchs that this was a cultural issue. It was like you needed to fight for your way of life. It was being taken away, which was a lie. It was just because of their money interests.
Right.
And so we're seeing the same thing play out today, where oligarchs are telling people this is a fight for your culture. This is a fight for this, and that. When in reality, it's just about their fucking money.
Right.
So
it's a class issue.
That's what was on my mind while researching this, but we'll readjust.
But you know what? Those systems always get burnt.
Yeah, well, like I said, like if you don't deal with something, you will eventually have to deal with it.
Yeah, the people are getting angry.
Yeah, veterans are. Last thing you want is guys who have PTSD and know how to shoot a gun and are obsessed with, fucking combat.
Yeah. Yeah, if they touch veteran benefits, that's the end.
Yeah, that's why they're freaking out. Yep.
Interesting.
We live in interesting times.
Ugh.
All right, so resetting.
We're going to talk about this.
We're talking about the Civil War.
We totally didn't go on a tangent that we cut out.
Yes. So, the Civil War.
Yes. A time, a lot of strife.
Yes.
A lot of tension. A lot of deeply seated issues that we're not necessarily going to dive into, but acknowledge that they existed and they weren't okay.
Yeah. Yes.
And there was a lot of tragedy that happened during that time across a lot of groups, but very disproportionately towards African Americans.
You guys know that. I feel like there's no need to say this. Yeah, you guys know that.
I'm summarizing the rant that we just had.
The rant we just cut out. So, the Civil War. That word civil, what does it mean?
Oh my God, I'm gonna.
That's the linguistics of civil. So let's just cover the stats. Let's just get the base stats out of the way so we can talk about these battles and the ghosts that came out of these battles.
Whoa.
Because these battlefields, let's just say the fighting didn't stop when the war ended. Those souls are in a permanent battle.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag? The Civil War lasted for almost exactly 4 years, kicking off April 12th, 1861, and concluding on April 9th, 1865. So, as mentioned in the preamble, I'm going to have to keep some of that stuff because I established that the South was powerful, and that's why the Civil War happened. As mentioned in the preamble, the Confederate States were a force to be reckoned with economically, but they really kicked the hornet's nest here because these are the stats between them and the Union. It's kind of crazy how it was such a fairly equal fight considering how small the Confederacy was. So the Confederacy was made up of 11 states. The Union was made up of 23 states. The Confederacy's population was 9 million, 4 million of which were slaves. The Union, 21 million.
Oof.
Just insane. Like, the manufacturing plants, which would be used in times of war in the Confederate States, 18,000. Union, over 100,000. So just like, and
Damn.
That's one thing I learned from this is really the Union, the South had more of like a military legacy, like culture, like they were military men. They kind of prided that for, I don't know why, but they had better generals basically for the most part, and they had more of a culture in military. However, the North had just so many fucking people and so much like supplies
resources,
that they just fucking smashed into them and like, yeah, we'll lose twice as many people as you, but we'll still come out having twice as many people as you.
Right.
Yeah. So on top of that too, 70% of the U.S. railroads were located in Union territory. So it's like the fastest form of transportation at the time. And the Confederate Army consisted of 800,000 men, and the Union Army was over 1.5 million men. So, based on the modern tools and available data, demographers confidently estimated that the total death toll of the war falls between 752,000 and 851,000 dead.
Damn.
That would have been roughly 2% of the U.S. population at the time. In what war that the U.S. participated in did we lose the most American service members? And like typically I would say like World War II, right? Mm-hmm. Machine guns and atom bombs and, just...
Gas and...
Yeah, like the technology was just insane.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you were to add up World War I, World War II, Korea... Vietnam, Gulf War, and on both the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, the wars in the Middle East, all those combined, the dead from those wars aren't as many dead as from the Civil War.
That's fine. I mean, that makes sense, right? Because like the Civil War, it was all Americans.
True, but I mean, still, it's like in a war where it's just a bunch of guys running at each other in a field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't think of like how many people were in one fucking field, like millions of people were just like, and it's considered the last like old fashioned war because they still did like line formations and there was like little boys with drums and stuff like that. But like
their guns
you were
had
just
sticks on them.
Yeah. So like it was a very brutal war. Because like you still had muskets, like you were just like you'd put powder and then BBs in the front of the gun, just fire them off.
And they wore wigs. Ew.
They did not wear wigs.
They wore wigs.
They did not wear wigs.
Ew. With the rollers in them, they're powdered white. Ew.
Yeah.
They're silly little, and they wore heels too.
Gross.
Wigs and heels.
Man.
With their little stick guns.
That was the Revolutionary War.
No, that was the Civil War.
I mean, I'm sure some of them had wigs on. Toupees.
Right.
You know? Be ashamed of their baldness. But it's also considered the first modern war because of stuff like the first ironclad warships. The first submarine that we used was in the Civil War. We had the telegraph. We had railroads. There were some rifles on top of the muskets.
Can we talk about, like, for a second, the telegraph? That's the, like, Morse code machine?
Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep, beep. Can you imagine how fucking, like, stupid that would feel? Like, you're getting a message, and it's like, beep, 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 beep. It's like, okay, why? Oh, you. It's like it slowly spells out like
Yeah.
you're gonna die, and it's like, oh.
When you hear news of this sale, oh thank God. Yeah, it's at the time it was probably awesome because like there was no other form of like fast electronic communication. So you're probably like, oh my God, I'm hearing a guy talk from Ohio. And I'm all the way in Louisiana. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
We had artillery and machine guns with the Gatling guns. So that's real easy to just turn guys and just hamburger. Yeah, hell yeah.
That's how it sounded. Wait, do the motion again. And then they stab you with the stick.
Yeah, so also organized medical care. Stuff like the Red Cross. We were out in the field like, Mo, maybe in a past life, you were some sort of field nurse running out, cradling a dying man's head and pouring iodine into his face.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I would have, too.
You'd probably be out there killing them secretly.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know better. We didn't know about germ theory then.
No.
I mean, like I slapped some dirt on it and I rubbed it in.
Yeah, that's what was crazy. The Red Cross was a dirt-based kind of operation.
Right.
Just jars of dirt.
They love dirt. Dirt and wigs.
Dirt and wigs.
They loved wigs.
And heels, I guess.
And heels,
Pretty
yeah.
crazy.
They just kind of like ran around. They went, ah!
Yeah.
They threw dirt on the wounds.
Yep. And they just got turned into hamburger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so also like the death in the like hospital camps, the amount of times a cannonball blew somebody up, or just like someone got their arm cleaved off or their leg blown off or whatever, and then they would get an infection and they'd be taken to the doctor tent, whatever, the little medical setup, and a doctor would be like, we have to saw off your arm.
Right.
Bite onto this leather belt. We have nothing to numb it. Typically it was alcohol. Chug some whiskey. I'm going to cut your arm off. Can you imagine that? Or cut your leg off.
And I'm going to lather it in lead.
And I'm going to love it.
I'm going to burn it. Right? Because they had to cauterize it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what the doctors sometimes are jokingly called sawbones. It's an older term, but like it comes from the Civil War because they would just be sawing into bone all the time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't survive half the time.
Right.
Getting your fucking arm cut off, the blood loss, the doctor didn't quite know what they were doing, or if the infection was too far gone. Like the amount of terror and pain that took place on these battlefields is insane.
Like, just kill me.
Just kill, and like the thing is,
just kill me.
in that war, most of the death was kind of slow. If you didn't get shot in the head or the throat, if you didn't bleed out, or if you didn't explode from a cannonball, you were getting in like gangrene and
dysentery,
stuff like that.
Because like the thing is like, yes, imagining having a limb cut off, extremely painful, right?
Yeah.
But the pain doesn't stop.
No.
It's like a months long thing, right? And you're in a camp where there's a ton of other people injured, and you're not getting like constant attention. There's no antibiotics, right? If you get a fever, you just got to ride through it. You got to shit your brains out.
Yeah.
You know, you got to vomit. Hope that they're going to wipe your ass so you don't get ulcers.
Yep.
You know?
The food you're getting too, like no matter what, you're shitting your brains out probably.
Yeah.
The water you're drinking.
Constant pain.
Mm-hmm.
Constant pain.
You're in the South, so mosquitoes too.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, bloodborne illnesses passing around from each one to each other. Which might be a good segue for your...
Yeah, that's a good one. So
Speaking of passing stuff around.
Jeremy was like, I really want to cover all the boring Civil War stuff and also all the fun ghost things.
Yes.
So, you know what you can cover? STDs.
Which I knew you would love.
Which I did love.
See, I know.
You know me. Like we were talking about, like when you think of the Civil War, you tend to think of like gruesome injuries, right? Like the missing limbs, gunshot wounds, infected cuts, stuff like that. But the reality of a majority of a doctor's work in a Civil War camp was treating diseases like typhoid, smallpox, and STDs.
Whoa.
Surprise, STDs were rampant in Civil War camps. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of reasons, right? Like when you think of like young men going off to war, or, you know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Falling in love with each other.
Falling in love with each other.
The heaving bodies.
Deployment. Like when they go on deployment, they go to new places. It's freedom, right?
Yeah. Yes. For some of the first time they were away from home. They were away from the farm.
They like, you know, got married young. You know, didn't get to explore. And so being in the military allowed them the privilege to explore. And for a lot of young men, this meant having sex with prostitutes.
Hell yeah.
These, what they called fancy women,
oh boy,
were often found
I do declare
around military camps because they knew that's where they would get a lot of work, was through people in the military. A lot of pent up stress, you know, and they want to work it out. So they knew they would get a lot of money. So there were a lot of fancy women found around military camps, which also made it a really conducive environment for spreading disease.
Yep. Yeah, a cesspool, really.
Yeah. The easy access to these women and the long time spent away from family and, you know, their wives led to a ton of outbreaks, in particular with gonorrhea and syphilis. And if you would like a little refresher, gonorrhea is a bacterial infection that causes painful urination, white, yellow, or green discharge from the penis.
Shut up. We know that.
Yeah.
Don't say it.
Longer term, it can cause arthritis, which is also a very painful condition, blood blisters on the fingers and toes, and death if it's not treated. Syphilis is also a bacterial infection. This is the one known for sores. It'll cause sores on your dick.
All over your dick.
Oh, your dick. Fever, fatigue, and also, if untreated, death. This one is more known for being more serious if untreated.
Goes tertiary.
Yes, it can cause a ton of issues, organ failure, the whole 9 yards.
Dementia. Al Capone. Al Capone died from that. Mm-hmm. Went crazy.
And if you think about it, right, you're having all of these young men with these dick diseases, and you don't want to be like crawling around on the ground, your dick dragging everywhere while it's like leaking pus. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's
they had
an issue.
Clothes on, just for the record.
If you're crawling around, your dick is still dragging on the ground,
Well, also, you're getting cuts, you're getting shot. Other people's blood is flying into your blood. Yes. So it wasn't always sexual, too, right? It's like, it was also like, you're getting
fucked from all angles, but like the Army's
literally.
Like, we need you to crawl on the ground. We need you to be okay dragging your dick on the ground. Mm-hmm. So this isn't okay. Our young boys.
I want to clarify. I don't think the main cause of syphilis was dragging your dick on the ground.
No, that's not the cause. But if your dick hurts.
Oh, yeah.
If your dick hurts, you're not going to want to drag your dick on the ground.
My bad. That's actually a great point. Yes.
Yeah.
To the twigs, the rocks.
Exactly. You got to shuffle. You got to crawl. And if your dick hurts, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to squat.
Amen. Amen.
You're going to want to like creep along. You can't do that. You're going to die. The Army's like, this is a huge issue. Oh my God.
Well, for someone who doesn't have a penis, you really get it.
I know. Sometimes I like to pretend. Sometimes I like hold my pretend balls and I'm like, ow,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I sat weird. I crunched them.
And everyone on the bus is like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, they have a dick. I didn't know.
That's
no
so
one without
accurate.
a dick.
They must have a real dick. Yeah, what? That's too good.
I'm like, I wouldn't want to drag my dick if I had syphilis.
No.
I get it. So the Army was like, they're like, whoa, this is big. This is a big issue.
Yeah.
This is a big issue. We got to deal with this. And just to put it into perspective, the Union Army, so this is not counting Confederates, but the Union Army documented 183,000 cases of these diseases during the Civil War. And that's 1 in 11.
Jesus Christ. That's just documented.
There were some soldiers writing home that would talk about this and like, oh my God, I have no idea how I got this sore on my dick.
Oh, dearest Martha.
But I promised wife I wasn't doing anything untoward.
Yes.
And they would say things like the officers were especially really into the prostitutes. And one soldier said, quote, "You would think that there was not a married man in the regiment."
Damn.
Because they were all fucking. They were all fucking.
Well, I mean, that happens a lot in war because, like, you're like, I could die any minute.
Yeah, I might have.
Like, I want to live like we're dying, baby.
Even if I get a dick sore, it's worth it,
Yes.
At least I had that one last orgasm. To combat the high levels of STDs, the Union Army, they were so cool for this. They created a government-sanctioned prostitution, like brothel.
Like clean women?
Yes.
Good for them.
Relatively.
Thank you, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. In Nashville and Memphis, Tennessee. In Nashville, it became known as Smoky Row, where all of the prostitutes hung out. And apparently, quote, "They say Smoky Row killed more soldiers than the war." Because there are so many diseases.
That's crazy.
But with this new government-sanctioned like brothel and prostitution, it required periodic medical exams and treatment for disease, which was a success. They saw disease rates sharply decline. If women were found to have diseases, they were basically like shipped off somewhere else, and they weren't allowed to sleep with our good men fighting for our country.
Turn the hose on them. Get out of here.
And a fun fact, the man who did this, the man who put it all together, his name was General Joseph Hooker. The name forever became associated with prostitutes.
Wow.
Hookers. Isn't that cool?
That makes sense.
Fun.
And also, like, what a legacy.
What a legacy. Just wanted
Bad
the
for his
boys to be
daughter and
safe.
his wife, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Another fun fact.
Yeah.
So the Civil War happened, Jeremy, 1860 what? 1860 what?
1860, what? 1861 to 1865.
Yeah. So condoms, do you know when condoms were invented?
Was it between 1861 and 1865?
No, it was before that. They were just stupid boys. It was 1855. Condoms were first invented.
Oh, so like they really should have been.
So they really didn't have any excuse. I just wanted to throw that little shame in there.
But it feels so good.
And antibiotics weren't invented until 1928.
They could have really used that.
Yeah, which for a bacterial infection, you need antibiotics to treat it.
How were they treating them back then?
So how are they treating it? Great question. Not well. And they also didn't. They thought they did, but they didn't.
We smashed them with rocks.
So many didn't get treated until after the war. So a lot of these treatments, right, they didn't even get. They didn't get it until after they left. And nearly a third of post-war deaths were from these diseases.
Oh my God.
Isn't that
They would just
crazy?
progress. They'd go home and they'd progress. Wow.
Because it was a bacterial infection. They didn't have a way to treat it. They didn't know how to.
That's wild.
The way that they did treat it was through rest, diet. They would inject metals into the urethra, your little pee tube.
God.
And they would insert a catheter to allow you to urinate because the penis would get so swollen that you couldn't pee anymore. So, yeah.
Give me some more medals, Doc.
Think about that. There's more.
That'll do it.
A very common treatment for this was using mercury.
That goes back to like the fucking like Greeks and the Romans.
Yeah, mercury is a very common treatment for a lot of things, especially for dick diseases, apparently. It's now known to be corrosive to the skin, eyes, GI tract. It can cause kidney failure and damage the central nervous system. We should put up some pictures of like what mercury exposure can do. People just like lost their face. Like just parts of their body would start falling off.
Wow.
Like when I say corrosive, I mean like it would eat away
Jesus Christ.
at your body. So that was crazy. So a lot of pain, obviously, a lot of pain associated with STDs. So to manage the pain, they would give them lead.
You know what? One door opens and another door opens.
Yeah. Lead, now famously known to be extremely toxic, even in small doses, can cause issues with your memory. It can cause headaches, migraines, pain, mood disorders, kidney issues, and worst of all, a loss of sex drive.
Oh no.
So.
But how are they going to keep on spreading this wonderful disease?
I know. Another option for pain was opium, which we still use in the form of opioids.
Yep.
So opium, we didn't know it was nearly as addictive as we are aware now. So it led to a huge opioid epidemic after the war because they would get addicted to the opium and weren't able to wean themselves off. And in an effort that's a little surprisingly progressive, they set up a ton of rehab clinics after the war to help people get over their addiction. And the last treatment...
Instead of this opium, Johnny, smoke this lead.
Yeah. Here's lead and mercury. When your face falls off, it won't hurt anymore.
Yeah, if your dick is off of your body, it's no longer infected.
Do you want to guess the last treatment? It is also famously known to be incredibly toxic.
Is it one I would know?
Probably.
Is it bloodletting?
No, that's a good guess. It's arsenic.
What the fuck?
They use arsenic specifically for syphilis, which is known to, if ingested, can kill you, right? It's a poison. But if, just exposure on your skin will cause lesions and cancer.
Good.
Skin cancer. So a lot of people died also from arsenic.
So yeah, the cure is as bad as the disease.
Which is like so crazy to think about. Like they didn't really have treatments for this. So if you got it, you just had it.
Yeah, it stuck around.
You just got it. Maybe your body would get over it. Maybe.
Or like maybe it was like dormant. You know what I mean? Like it was
right.
Like it's tolerable.
I do want to mention, I think it's important. Most of these, large majority, straight people.
I've assumed.
All straight people.
Remember this, boys and girls.
Remember
it
this.
Doesn't just happen to delinquent homos. No, it doesn't just happen. It's always been straight guys doing that. You know what I mean? Like
you just drag your dick in mud and you're like, here's the lube, honey. Nothing bad's gonna happen now.
Got this mug from Gettysburg. The best there is. Yeah.
You wanted a mug mask. Here you go.
Same sound as the Gatling gun, weirdly enough.
No, the Gatling gun is.
My bad.
The mud mask via application of a dick is.
Wow. Well, that's fascinating, Mo.
You're welcome.
Haunting, but fascinating.
So how did we get syphilis ghosts? I hope you're going to talk about that. We get like just disjointed penises floating through the air.
It's a dark, foggy night on the Shiloh battlefield. Somewhere in the distance, a ghostly moan. Oh, my pecker hurts.
I got the sores, honey.
My wiener. I think it's done for. Let's transition to the bloodshed, the violence, and the ghosts. Now, I wasn't able to cover as many of the battles I wanted to because there are a lot of ghost stories in Civil War. It could be a part 2. I don't know if it will, but I'm going to cover 2 main battles and just know that there's honestly 3 more that have a lot of stories to it that I wish I was able to cover. But as I mentioned before, I took so much time trying to figure out how not to teach you guys about the start of the Civil War. I didn't have enough time to make notes of what I really want to talk about, that's kind of my sickness. So the Civil War saw the country attack itself, really. It pitted brother against brother. In the wake of its conclusion, the country was tasked with the enormous undertaking of returning to a new normal. But if you believe, which some people do, that trauma, tragedy, violence, and terror have a way of sticking around, that a collective emotional experience such as the psychic carnival that a war might conjure on a muddy battlefield of frenzied soldiers, maybe something is left behind.
I believe it. Zach Baggins always told me that.
Maybe this energy, whatever you want to call it, generated by thousands of men living and dying all at once, is enough to turn a 1,000-acre tract of Pennsylvania farmland into hallowed ground. Many people believe that many Civil War battlefields are haunted by the lost souls of men who perished there. They've felt them, heard them, and in some cases, they've seen them.
Whoa.
And they're dripping wieners. So let's start with Shiloh. The Battle of Shiloh was a major battle near the start of the war. It took place from April 6th to April 7th, 1862. The fighting took place in southwestern Tennessee, with the battlefield located between Pittsburgh Landing on the Tennessee River and a small church named Shiloh. Ironically, the Hebrew word meaning the Shiloh is a Hebrew word meaning place of peace. This was not a place of peace. This was a place of torture and death. Confederate army led by Albert Sidney Johnston.
Nice.
As a wiener. Launched a surprise attack on Union forces under $50 Daddy, General Ulysses S. Grant.
Wow.
Name another Civil War general who's on a dollar bill. Yeah, I'll wait.
Hooker.
That dollar hasn't come out yet. That's the new Sacagawea gold dollar. It's just the hooker.
The hooker dollar doesn't come in paper, honey.
Ooh, what's it come in?
It comes in.
Okay, cool. By the way, so Ulysses S. Grant. Skate by that as quickly as possible.
Okay, cool.
Ulysses.
That was quality improv.
It was. So
you did not yes and.
Yeah, I did yes, and I said okay, but
You said anything but that.
Anything but that, please. So Ulysses S. Grant. The S in Ulysses S. Grant, it doesn't stand for anything. The S, it was a clerical error on his application to West Point, and instead of correcting it, Grant just rolled with it until he died. His middle name was actually Ulysses. His first name was Hiram Ulysses Grant, but he's like Ulysses Grant, Ulysses S. Grant. That's my name. I'll be president one day, and I'll still be called Ulysses S. Grant.
You know what? Go off.
Anyway, the fighting was intense and deadly, with the Confederate Army pushing Union forces to retreat. And that was the end of it. Question mark. No, it wasn't.
Oh my God.
This was not the end. Yeah, sure, the first day, the Confederacy won. The Union pushed back. Ulysses S. Grant was like, hey guys, this is not safe. I care about my boys. We're heading back out. Bad news. Turns out General Johnston got iced in battle. He was on his horse, he got shot in the leg, and he's like, no problem, just a flesh wound. But it wasn't. He hit a major artery, and he bled out and died on his horse.
So Johnston is the bad guy, right?
Johnston's the bad guy.
Okay.
Unless you're racist, then he's the good guy.
We like Ulysses.
We like Ulysses S. Grant.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, he took a bullet to the leg, ended up dying, and despite a dead general, Confederates counted it as a win because, the Union ran away like a bunch of sissy girls. And Johnston's second in command, General P.G.T. Beauregard, assumed leadership. At dawn, Grant returned with reinforcements and launched a counterattack that the exhausted Confederate troops, who were outmanned and outgunned, simply outmatched. A second bloody day ended with Beauregard cutting his losses and ordering his men to retreat. Both sides suffered huge losses, with over 23,000 men dying there. While the Union saw more men killed, wounded, and captured, it was a critical loss for the South strategically.
Mm-hmm. Suck it, South.
Suck it, Beauregard. Beauregard would be criticized later for retreating without consulting with the Confederate President Jefferson Davis, which is like, I guess generals had to be like, hey, Mr. President, can I run away? And the president was like, yeah or no. And they ran off, and they were like, hey, you're a pussy for doing that because you didn't even let the president know. By the way, President Jefferson Davis looks like an evil Abraham Lincoln. If you look at a photo of Jefferson Davis, he looks like an Abraham Lincoln who doesn't give hugs.
See, that's what you get when you wear wigs and heels. You get little sissy boys who run away.
That's right. Amen. That was a real thing they did. They wore wigs. This was a critical moment of defeat, and President Jefferson Davis had said that he far preferred Johnston to Beauregard, and he even later said that Johnston's death was, quote, the turning point of our fate, which is crazy to say because that was only a year into the war.
Damn.
So there's 3 more years, and you're like, we're already fucked. So General Albert Johnson was the highest-ranking soldier to die in combat in the Civil War. Now let's talk about those dead bodies.
I'm itching to hear about a ghost.
So, ranking in the top 10 bloodiest battles of the Civil War, the Shiloh battlefield, now preserved within the Shiloh National Military Park, is notorious for its, at times, heavy and foreboding atmosphere.
Ooh.
Visitors and park employees have reported paranormal experiences. One common one is the Phantom Drummer. Do you hear about these drummer boys?
Yes.
Why were we doing this to boys?
Because morale.
Well, also the drumming actually was important because it signaled like every different department of the war. I don't know how like the artillery and guys on horses and stuff like that. They all had their own drummer boy, and the drummer boy would be like, fight now, and they you know what I mean? It kept them on beat, and like it was like whatever. And like sometimes these boys would get killed.
Often.
It's like when a dog dies. You're like, oh.
Damn.
Kind of kills the vibe, you know?
Yeah, I got to train another one.
Yeah. There's always one waiting in the wing.
Yeah. That's why, like, you always have to have, two, so that the older one can teach the younger one how to navigate the house and ask to go out to use the restroom and.
Oh, dogs, yeah.
Yeah. and drummer boys.
Yeah.
And drummer boys, yeah.
Yes. And they far preferred drumming to hooker duty. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Numerous observers have claimed to hear a distant drumming at odd hours when no reenactor or musician is on the grounds. The drummer appears to be playing what's called the long roll, a continuous fast drum beat that signaled to attack or prepare for battle. So you just hear brrr, 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 something like that.
Ooh, I would fucking hate. Can you imagine just like wandering around the middle of the woods, and all you're hearing is you're hearing like a war drum.
Yeah. Yeah. So another common thing. This is common in all of these battlefields. Is voices and also like gunfire, like echoes of gunfire. But exactly. Not to be mistaken for the mud mask, the Gettysburg mud mask.
My wig.
So phantom gunfire is a more common phenomena, as well as disembodied voices that moan and scream. Some say help. Kind of sad.
Try and sound like a Civil War guy.
We're gonna add some reverb on that.
Yeah. Sound like a bark a little bit. It was like a
Help!
Okay, there we go.
Oh god! That's what you would hear. Isn't that kind of scary? And on top of that, you're hearing fucking a little kid just drum the fuck out of a.
Yeah, drumming and you're help.
Help! There's gunfire.
Help.
Help!
You see Forrest Gump just like fucking
Booking it. Fog is a frequent sighting at night. Random patches of fog will roll in out of nowhere and disappear.
spooky.
And several accounts of visitors catching glimpses of shadows running through the fog.
Okay, that's a little fucked up.
Well, it looks like a guy running past you. Like, what the fuck was that? A jogger? No. Nobody's there.
No, but that is scary too.
Yeah, joggers can be scary.
Yeah. Who does that?
This is interesting. There's a place called Bloody Pond in the park.
That's just my tub.
It's disgusting. That's repulsive. That's disgusting. Anyways, this is a family show. There's children, exclusively children listening right now. So the Bloody Pond is located near the park's peach orchard and is named after stories from soldiers who said that after the 2-day battle, the pond had grown tinted red from blood. This is because the pond sat in a section that saw heavy fighting both days. And as the only water source in the area, soldiers used it to wash their wounds. Just a stagnant body of water. Love that. And also to drink from, which is even more disgusting when you consider all the wounds that are being washed in there.
No wonder everybody fucking died from sickness.
Yeah.
Do you look at the statistics of like who died from like injuries versus who died just from being sick? Mm-hmm. Overwhelmingly, it was like 75%.
Yeah.
Just
also the total how they kept score, I really don't think is accurate because like how could they have known who was dying from being shot and who was dying from like
a fever?
Shouldn't have either consumed that bloody pus water or washed my exposed fucking veins in the
I
bloody
imagine
water.
If they see somebody on the battlefield missing like a large chunk of their body, it's a good indicator that they died in duty.
Or a monster.
But if they died leaning over with a bunch of diarrhea coming out.
Well, they say when you die, your bowels evacuate.
True.
So you can get bayoneted to the chest and then...
And then shit. And
I
it's like,
know, that's exactly how I would die, I know for a fact.
And they're like, this happens every time. I don't know how to tell.
If I got speared to the chest, I would unload my pants. I know that for a fact. I'm always on the verge of pooping. So, just a little fact about me.
Mm-hmm. They see a pussed up dick and they're like, heartbreak. He died from heartbreak.
He died from heartbreak.
Too long away from the wife.
Fancy women. Fancy. So it's said that many mortally wounded men crawled to the pond in search of refreshment in their final moments. So a lot of bodies were like, if you didn't die in the pond or whatever, you went to the pond as you died and just fucking dunked your head in there. So people claim that since the park's founding, people have observed the pond turn red every few years.
Yeah.
And if true, this could totally be like pond algae doing this. But people claim they've seen like the water will turn like a weird tint of red. And the park people who run the park say that's not true at all. So
he said, "Stop spreading that rumor.
Stop spreading that rumor and stop dragging your dick on the ground." So also the Beauregard Keys house. This is also an interesting kind of extension of this. So as you know, General PGT Beauregard was the fucking loser. He was a disgrace. He's a military man.
I hate him.
I hate him. I just learned about him 20 minutes ago, and I hate him.
Tell me who to hate, and I hate him.
So General Beauregard's defeat and retreat, which rhymes, at Shiloh cost the Confederacy a key strategic location, as we noticed. So heavily criticized and personally ashamed, Beauregard would soon take a 2-month sick leave because he was like, I just feel so sick about losing. God, oh darn tootin' losing. And the President Davis said, "You suck and you're sick too." Mm-hmm. We all know this is a mental health day, okay? And so he said he stripped him of his rank. He's like, "You know what? I'm sick of you. My best friend, my favorite general died, and you took his place, and you're nothing like he is. How dare you stand where he stood?" Now later he rescinded this, and Beauregard got his swagger back when there was a shortage of like officials, of skilled officers.
Right.
Nevertheless, Beauregard never quite returned to his former level of prestige. And after the war, he went home to New Orleans. This is where there's a cut to New Orleans. New Orleans. 1865. And he's wearing a zoot suit. swinging a pocket watch around. So he went home to New Orleans, where he found some success in business. He was involved in like railroad money, whatever the fuck. And his home, the Beauregard Keys house, is said to be very haunted. Months after he passed in 1893, a group of pedestrians passing by the French Quarter estate paused at the sound of a distant voice. They looked around. They couldn't see where this voice was coming from, but they listened in. There was no sign of life in the house. Nobody on the porch where they heard this voice coming from. But it was an old, raspy voice calling out mournfully the word, Shiloh. Shiloh. Could it be the ghost of old P.G.T. Beauregard?
Whoa.
Mourning his critical loss? Now, the people who purchased the house after the general's passing claim to have occasionally seen a transparent figure, what looked like a transparent figure, manifest in the ballroom at odd hours, accompanied by a startling drop in temperature. They noticed the figure over time. They noticed that it appeared to be an adult male, and it wore what they thought resembled the old gray wool Confederate uniforms from the war. After their first year there, activity in the ballroom stopped. However, later they experienced recurring incidents where at night they'd be awoken by a large commotion that would kind of grow and escalate into what sounded like the cacophony of a battlefield. They'd hear voices, and they'd hear like banging, and they'd hear what sounded like gunfire.
Oh shit!
Cannons, and they could follow it through the house, and it always led to the ballroom.
You know, it'd be kind of dope though, because like obviously it's very disorienting and scary.
Yeah.
But if it's like a pattern, and you can like track down when it'll happen, you could have the best movie night.
You could.
You know, like put on Pirates of the Caribbean. You can hear like cannonballs and like
it's like surround
screaming
sound. Wow.
and fighting. It's like, damn, this is like realistic as shit.
It's pretty cool.
It's like ghosts of your ancestors screaming in pain. Is like, nice. Johnny Depp is really...
Man, Marvel's Endgame has never been so good. Shiloh! Shiloh!
Shiloh! It's like, it's Shia.
It's Shia.
It's Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Transformers rules. And in the following decades, passers-by would sometimes claim to hear muffled sounds of battle emanating from that house. And there is one account that I left out that I thought was too fantastical, but whatever. One of the owners claimed, I think it was like, I don't know who it was, but it was one of the owners at some point after his death, said that they had the same experience where they were woken up by loud, crazy sounds. They would fall into the bedroom, the ballroom, and in the ballroom, they would start to see like very faint, like almost like an after image, like very faint images of soldiers running around the room. The battle manifest in the ballroom, which I don't think is real.
Interesting.
I don't believe in like history replaying itself like that vividly.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a residual haunting, which is almost what we're seeing here, where it's like a memory replaying, where it's Beauregard, the impact of his disgrace, you know, it's him saying Shiloh. It's him in his uniform walking around the ballroom. Mm-hmm. Like there's a piece of him still there. It's not interacting with them. And also too, like maybe a piece of his memory of the battle is constantly replaying, because how many times did he rethink it when he was in that house? How many times did he replay that memory in his head of what he could have done differently? Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a part of that hangs around. There's that, you know.
I kind of like, I tend to subscribe to that idea of like hauntings too, or like ghosts going through the motions.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what's interesting to me, and that's the majority of hauntings you find. We covered that with this one ship, the RMS Queen Mary. I think it was the Queen Mary.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right. Yeah.
There was it was a ship that like led soldiers to and from the war in World War II, basically, and so like people they've seen like. They've heard soldiers talking, or they've heard soldiers like, you know, nervously talking to each other, because in that moment, those people were probably the most anxious they would ever be in their whole lives. Mm-hmm. And it was a ton of young men feeling that exact same feeling continuously in the same space over a certain amount of years.
Right.
So like if there's something to like shit hanging around, it'd be something strong like that and concentrated like that, which is why they think battlefields are haunted. But I mean, there's you can look up footage on YouTube that some people they think are ghosts on battlefields, and there's a lot of orb activity on battlefields. Moving on to Antietam, which was also an absolute carnage, and reading about this was disgusting. The Battle of Antietam, which took place on September 17th, 1862, was the bloodiest day in American history, with over 23,000 casualties in a single day.
Damn.
So taking place in Sharpsburg, Maryland, it was Confederate General Robert E. Lee's first invasion of the North, which was countered by Union troops led by General George McClellan. Neither side reached a clear victory, but Lee was forced to retreat with his troops back to Virginia, making it a strategic victory for the Union. Perhaps due to the carnage, the Antietam/Sharpsburg battlefield is considered by paranormal investigators to be the most haunted of all Civil War battlefields. And there's several key areas. So there's the Bloody Lane Ghosts. An area called the Sunken Road, and later called the Bloody Lane, was a key location during this battle. It was a sunken road, which is just like a pathway, like a natural road formed by travel. It basically creates a trough. Mm-hmm. The grass, the land rises up around you. And so, as you can imagine, if you're a bunch of soldiers, you're stuck in like a valley, like a very small valley, micro valley. And so Union troops were going to attack the sunken road where the Confederates were already waiting for them. And it basically created like a mosh pit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, where they both met in this road. You can't get out because you got walls, basically. You're in a trough.
Yeah.
And they said that the road flooded with blood. So for 4 hours straight, Union and Confederate soldiers shot, beat, and bayoneted each other, causing the sunken clay road to resemble a red river of blood.
Damn.
Earning the name the Bloody Lane. Tourists have reported feeling, and also they said like it was paved with bodies at the end of the day, like stacked on top of each other. Tourists have reported feeling a sudden overwhelming dread in Bloody Lane, including dizziness and nausea. But common paranormal experiences there include disembodied muttering, groans, and pained shouting. Sensations of hands grasping at visitors' ankles and legs, which would make sense if they're all, like if you're at the bottom of a pile of bodies and you weren't dead yet, maybe you would be reaching out for somebody. Phantom gunfire, sightings of what appear to be walking shadows, men mistaken as Confederate reenactors who vanish out of sight. And what I thought this was the most interesting, a group of Baltimore schoolboys visiting the site on a school trip, while walking down Bloody Lane, they claimed to hear singing out in the fields nearby. They said it sounded like a crowd of men singing Deck the Halls. This is because they repeatedly heard something like fa la 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 over and over again. Well, it just so happens that that area of Bloody Lane was closest to the observation tower, where the Irish brigades charged the Confederates with a Gaelic battle cry that is said to sound like Christmas caroling.
That's crazy.
Because those kids just said, "Hey, there's people singing Deck the Halls."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that I'll try to find like a file of that if there's like a recreation of that.
Irish or Scottish?
Irish brigades.
That would be fucking crazy. Like just a bunch of Irishmen charging at you. It's like
there's people that were immigrating to the U.S. from Ireland. At where you arrive from Ellis Island in New York, they set up
like recruitment
stations. And so like some people like right off the boat signed up. So there was plenty of immigrants in this war too.
Just wait till we sing our songs at them, laddie.
Right. Well, they were so proud to be, citizens. They're like, absolutely, I'll fight for my country.
They're like, for the potatoes.
The potatoes.
Fa la 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 la.
La 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 la. Another key point is called Burnside's Bridge. This is also in Antietam, which was a small stone arch bridge, roughly 130 feet long, 12 feet wide, that spans across Antietam Creek. Its narrow width made it difficult to fit soldier line formations, making it an easy choke point for Confederate forces to hold their position. Named after Union General Ambrose Burnside, it's relevant to note that Ambrose, I think, is one of the prettiest names a man can have. Would you agree? Ambrose.
That is a nice name.
It's a pretty name. Anyways, the bridge saw intense fighting and casualties, with heavy gunfire and cannons greeting any Union opposition crossing the bridge. These guys were just exploding. Today, unexplained mist appear atop the bridge. Figures have been allegedly seen shambling across the bridge at night, fading away before clearing the other side. And casualties were initially buried in mass graves alongside the bridge. That could be an explanation for like the presence people feel on this bridge. One of the more common phenomena are the balls of blue light that are seen dancing around the bridge at night. Ooh. And nearby Antietam, St. Paul Episcopal Church in Sharpsburg. This is the church that was used as a Confederate hospital following the Battle of Antietam. And lights are sometimes seen flickering from the church tower with no one present. And countless reports of blood-curdling screams inside of the church at night. Ugh. And there's also an inn down the road that was also used as like a hospital, makeshift hospital. And apparently in there, it might be a tourist spot, I'm not sure. There's a wood floor where they can't sand the blood out of it. Oh. It's like no matter how much they like sand the floor, the blood stays there.
Damn.
And that's all I have on those two battles. There's more. If you guys like it, we can jump back in. But for the moment, that's all I have.
Spooky.
Spooky, disgusting, scary.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Scary stuff. Not cool. Not a good war to be in. Not one to...
Not a fun one.
Not a fun one. You don't hear about many like Civil War veterans like doing things, A lot of them are dead. It's not like World War II where like they came home and like they invented the computer. You know what I mean? Like they didn't. Right. There's no.
They had
like
lots
they came
of
home.
Babies.
They came home and they just were shambling. Their penises were
fucked
Not
up.
looking so good?
Penises were
Because they're dragging it in the dirt?
Yeah, just dragging them.
Just dragging them.
Nasty.
Nasty.
They were racist. Yeesh.
Yeah, even the good ones were racist. Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln, incredibly progressive for his time. Still very, like, his original idea of when he was floating around, like, what will Reconstruction, which is the period after the war, what could it look like? And he's like, well, we can maybe send the slaves back to Africa. Maybe they'd like that. And everyone's like, that's a fantastic idea.
Oh.
He's like, we can make a town in Africa, and they could have them send them back there. If they, whatever. It's like, it was 1860 something, But back then, that was like, he was the Bernie Sanders of slavery. Yeah. So,
is now a good time to do a good vibe? That feels wrong for some reason, but we're gonna do it anyway, I guess.
Good vibes, just to wash off the blood of war.
That's a good one. My good vibe is that I have a working penis.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't mean to like one up you, but me too.
Fuck yeah, man. That's always a good vibe.
That's always a good vibe.
Okay.
You know who would agree? The soldiers in Smoky Row.
They say that because their pussies were on fire.
All genitals were burning.
All genitals were burning. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of According to an Idiot.
Yeah.
Stay up to date with our new episode releases, things going on, by following us on social media on Instagram and Facebook at According to an Idiot, on Twitter for the time being, I guess, at Idiots Accord. You can also find us on Patreon. Oh my God, that's a great way to find more content. We have an exclusive creepypasta series that we do there. We upload videos. We do have a YouTube where we're uploading video content now. Jeremy is reading the Mothman Chronicles for our patrons. You can vote on topics. A lot of cool stuff. We do have a free tier if you just want to go check it out. So make sure you do that.
Definitely check out the YouTube channel because I have uploaded 2 of our previously exclusive creepypasta episodes onto YouTube so you can see what we're doing on Patreon. Mm-hmm. Those I just put one up a few days ago. Check it out. Good times for all.
A fun time.
I just got laid off, so please, this is never been a better time to check out that Patreon.
The recession is hitting in the Jeremy house.
Yes.
If you do want to give us feedback or give suggestions for topics, feel free to email us at accordingtoanidiot@gmail.com. If you want to really help us out and let other people find the show, rate us on iTunes and Spotify. Helps other people find the show. And
it certainly does.
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
I think that's all I gotta say.
Mo, thank you for joining me on this journey back in time to a horrible period. And thank you for telling me all about that horrible down south disease.
You're welcome.
Crazy times.
Crazy times.
All right, guys. That's all from us. Thank you for listening. We will see you in time.
I love you.